Hi everyone, welcome to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in to the Friday noontime show as we kick your weekend off early here. And as we usually do, welcome on former state representative, former deputy secretary of state, now heads up Stages of Freedom, Ray Rickman, to give his big view.
Thank you, Kate. So I read the morning paper and I see that the commission appointed by the governor for the purpose of selecting candidates to be on the Superior Court to fill the vacancy of the late Walter Stone. Mr. Stone, civil rights advocate, criminal lawyer, corporate lawyer, former Attorney General, Assistant Prosecutor, just a very interesting African-American man, President of the Black Heritage Society, active in every aspect of black life, and an intriguing judge, Walter Stone, gone to his grave. Vacant seat. They come up with 4 white people to replace him, not one person of color. Now there's fabulous Asian candidate, female, in the pool, and there's a fabulous black male candidate in the pool, but they can't be finalists. So in theory, the governor is supposed to, within 21 days, pick one of those 4 people to fill the late Walter Stone's seat. Now, this wouldn't matter in a highly racial integrated judicial system, of which Rhode Island has none. It has 85 white judges and 2 judges of color on a bench. You're with me? On a bench. Almost 90 judges. And 40% of the people who come before those judges every day are Latino and black, and from time to time Asian. And your chances of having a black judge, or seeing one in the hall, or seeing a Latino judge or an Asian judge in the hall, is very low. It's disgusting. Now, what do I want to do besides complain that Walter's seat is being given to a white person? And I have nothing against white folks. I mean, they got 90, doing my math, 92% of the seats on the court bench. Why doesn't this governor, who put out a policy email statement the other day talking about how she's all for minorities, why doesn't she do something? Governor, go to the pool. Just go to the pool. I don't want you to be radical, Governor. I'm not sure you're a radical person. But go to the entire pool and add them back in. They're all superbly qualified. Your commission will not tell you that the Asian woman is not one of the best qualified lawyers in this state, and that the black candidate is right there with her. They're superior. I read the resumes of the 4 people, and these 2 people that I'm urging you to add to the 4 to have a pick of 6. I didn't tell you to pick them. I'd like you to. But do something radical today. Do something radical and say, I'm going to look at 6 candidates instead of 4. And the 2 minorities are equally or better qualified than the 4 that you're being presented. One of the 4 resume looked a little thin. I'm going to be nice today and just say not which one, but it looked a little thin. And that candidate looked a little politically connected. Come on, Governor. Without black and Latino votes, you will not get reelected. Think about it. This is Walter Stone's seat.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. I'd like to welcome in now my first guest after Ray Rickman gave us Big View, local published author Hannah Goodman. Thank you for joining us today in the studio.
Thank you.
Because we want to talk about the book, your route to publishing, and the many hats you wear. You've been a high school teacher, you've been a college counselor, you are now a licensed mental health counselor. But writing has always been at your core and wanting to publish something. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and we'll talk then a little bit about the book.
Sure. My journey is kind of what you just said. Started off as a high school teacher, thought I was going to be a guidance counselor. Then I had a kid. Then I thought maybe I'll just tutor a little bit, raise my kid. Then I wrote my first book, and long story short is everything feels like it led me up to this year. Because this year I was able to start my own private practice in mental health counseling, and I finally got a book deal. So I started off as self-published, and now I am regularly published, I guess you could call it.
Fantastic. Well, tell us a little bit about the new book, Till It Stops Beating. Give us the kind of soup to nuts process when you said, I really want to write a book about heartbreak.
Yes. Okay. So soup to nuts. I'll try. So this book is actually the fourth book in a series, and the first three I could never get published with anybody, so I published them myself. And then, so what I really did was I had to create this as a standalone. And the first part of this book was written 1999. So it was kind of inspired by heartbreak from my own teenage years, and there was a lot of it. But then when I rewrote it, the heartbreak really came from, I've worked with young people for so long, so the stories that they were telling me, and the struggles, quite honestly, with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, all those things kind of came together, and that's what really inspired this, I'd say.
So you said 3 books leading up to this. This is the 4th. Tell us a little bit about your writing process, because we just said you have many hats, mom,
yes.
counselor.
Yes.
You know, we talk with authors. We'd love to have them in and feature their works. I mean, what's the process when you go through writing a book?
It's so not fancy. It's kind of like seat of my pants or seat of whatever. It's whenever I can. It used to be that I had this sort of almost religious ritual of going to my local Starbucks. I would bike there very early in the morning before everybody was awake, and I would write. Well, that disappeared probably a good, 4 years ago. And now I write in between everything. I carry my laptop with me everywhere. Sometimes it's late at night, sometimes it's early in the morning, sometimes it's in the middle of between working with clients. I don't have a fancy process anymore. I used to go on retreats, I used to do all those like writerly things. I don't have the time.
You fill it in when you can.
Yes.
Publish this. Let's talk a little bit about the book itself and your role as a mental health counselor.
Yep.
You know, 2018, the world in which these young people are coming up through, and you know, there's something universal about adolescence and teenage years.
Yes.
But then there's, something, 2018 with social media and everything else that plays into it as well. I mean, the role of stories and writing something that everyone can kind of relate to. I mean, what's the feedback that you've gotten from folks who are like, oh my gosh, I so remember my first heartbreak, my biggest heartbreak?
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of feedback across generations, and similar to 14 years ago when I self-published my first book, I think because there's cross-generation of characters. There's the 17-year-old main character, Maddie, but then there's also her sister, who's almost 30, her parents, who are like in their late 40s, and then there's her bubby, who's in her 60s. So all the feedback, I've had a high school principal, I've had 14-year-olds, they all say they can relate. And speaking of social media, there's none in here. I actually intentionally omitted a lot of that because I wanted it to feel universal. And since social media is so new, I wanted everybody to connect. So
folks of our age.
right.
Well, thank goodness I wasn't there in high school.
Thank goodness. Yes.
So you've got the published book. I mean, now are you going on a tour and going out and talking with folks? And I love, okay, we have to take the book away because you have the t-shirt.
I'll move my hair out of the way, yes.
The same as the book cover. Do you wear it to every book talk?
No, this is the first one. This is the debut.
The debut of the t-shirt.
Debut, yes, it's the debut.
So how many places are you going to talk about the book?
Well, I have gone to some indie bookstores, but I'm just booked something with Barrington Public Library.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to be speaking at the Warwick Rotary Club in September. September.
Excellent.
So, but I'm open. So if you want me, you can have me. I would love, love, love to do like a book club. I did that with my first book. It was so much fun. I'm really, and I'm my own publicist, so you book through me. Yeah, I'm in a place now too where I'm not afraid. So I'm really excited to just keep walking around Rhode Island, because you can do that,
yes,
and just say, here I am, because I feel like there's so much we can all connect to in this book. So yeah, so those are the things I have. And I have like a lot of online stuff. I have a blog tour. They do this now, people. A blog tour that's going to start in October. And it's like 21 stops, and I have someone helping me with that.
So tell us a little bit of a blog tour.
Yeah, blog tour. I don't know yet. No, it's basically the book tour, but you go from book blog to book blog.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they're all over the world. There's somebody in
Wow.
India. There's somebody in Pakistan. There's somebody in Britain. There's like, Massachusetts, whatever.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my first time doing that. So that's, and I have on my website, I have like all the stuff that's coming up, and yeah, so, but I'm open. If you want to book me.
Well, all I can say is I'm really excited to read it, because here we are. It's still August. There's still beach days.
Yes, there's the beach read.
Seems like just like a beach
Yes,
read.
yes.
Plain read.
Yes.
Sounds like a good read. So always the next question is, what's next? I mean, you're so busy publicizing the book right now.
Yes.
Are you taking a little breather?
No, I don't breathe. I don't breathe. No, I do. I breathe. For 3 minutes a day, I meditate. That's my breathing. Actually, there's something called, I don't know if you know about this, NaNoWriMo, which is National Write Your Novel Month. And there was something in July called Camp NaNoWriMo. And I participated in that, so I wrote the sequel. It's very bad right now. It needs editing. But that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been working on.
When you write a book, and I like to talk with authors about this,
Sure.
that editing process, I mean, how much, you say that you went through it in July, but how much is it is nuance, and how much of it is like completely substantive? Like oh, I don't want this character to do that, or is it kind of the bones in place, and you're like, well, I kind of want to flesh this out more here. What's your revision process when you write something?
My revision process is brutal. I was a journalism minor in college. So my inner editor, once I let her out, she's very mean and very strict. So I like to spend a good year playing. So I might take a month to write an entire novel, but I'll take a year to really play around, flesh out. Then I'll put it away, and it could be a several-year process of editing. It really depends.
I mean, you talk about having this book started in '99.
I know. And then I put it away, and then it was actually only, and not to give away too much, spoiler alert, it was only the road trip. So the story's told in two parts. It's senior year, and then it's the road trip after senior year. So the original book was just the road trip in 1999, and it was bare bones.
Okay.
And then it's a long story, but I did have an agent, and she actually was helpful. Even though she wasn't helpful in anything else, sorry. She was helpful in me piecing together this book, and actually it was that process where I wrote what is now the first half, and I stuck it with the second half. So yeah, I mean, books are weird, the way that authors write books. Some books you can write straight in 3 months, you're done. Other books, 20 years or whatever.
I think I'm nearing 20 years.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
book. You got the next one in the hopper.
Yes.
So by lieu of that deal with the publisher,
Yeah.
is that in the hopper to work with the same publisher?
Hi, Black Rose Writing. If you want to buy my second book,
We're here.
and my backlist, I know they're watching. The publisher's great because it's a small publisher, so there's a lot of wiggle room. I hope if I approach them about the sequel, they'd be interested. Of course, it's about sales, so buy it. But yeah, it would be nice to do this again with them, because it's really been. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but not that stressful. I mean, other than the own stress I put on myself.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic read. Again,
Yes.
and you said people of all ages can really enjoy it, relate to it. Give us a little hint as to what's in store with the next book. You've written it, but you must have a vision of where these characters and their life paths go.
I do. I feel like what I touched on in here was the main character. Quite honestly, she has an anxiety disorder. I mean, she doesn't come out, it's a first-person novel. She's not going to be like, my name is Maddie and I have generalized anxiety disorder. But I'm a therapist, so I know she does. So we're going to see more of that, but this is a funny book. And quite honestly, anxiety, I hate to minimize anxiety because, whatever, but it can be funny. So there's going to be some more about her own journey with, now I'm 18, now I need to go to college, and I also have like anxiety, and how am I going to manage that? And also there is a great, beautiful love story that starts here, and it's going to continue in the next book.
So the character, you talk about her having anxiety. Is there that sort of self-realization there? Does she talk about it sort of herself, knowing that she has it, how she has to deal with it?
She's starting to, in this book, become more and more like, okay, this is clear that I'm going to have to deal with this. And so I really want to make it, in the next book, like she's going to almost befriend her anxiety. She's going to struggle and then befriend, and the journey of like, you're falling in love with somebody and you're going to go off to college and you're really nervous about all this, and you have, an anxiety disorder. How do you do all this?
And you all these hats. You're an author. You're a mental health licensed mental health counselor.
Yeah.
So folks who do have anxiety, I mean, most folks either suffer themselves or know folks who do. Is it something that ends up needing to be approached and managed as a lifelong? Can you?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you do befriend your own anxiety, it sort of quiets it. I mean, that's just kind of like a quick therapy session right there for everybody.
Like, you know it. There's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Like, don't avoid it.
Don't avoid it. It won't be an elephant. It can be a kitty cat. It can curl up. You can, you can manage anxiety. Anxiety is not like a death sentence. Even though in the throes of it,
it feels like it.
It really does. Panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I was having one back in the green room. If you kind of, a lot of people say anxiety is my enemy. No. It can be our greatest asset. I mean, it's part of the reason why I'm standing here right now. Is that I can use it. I can use that energy.
So do you think that we've come, and I talk with folks when they come in to talk about mental health, are we getting to a place where it's destigmatized and people are really talking about it? Or do we still have lengths to go to treat it like cancer and diabetes?
We have a lot to do. We have a lot of work to do. And part of me actually becoming a licensed mental health counselor was that my own struggles with anxiety, I mean, that's not a secret. I've talked about it with a lot of people. But I was nervous to become a therapist when I was younger, because I thought, well, how can a therapist have anxiety? And now I'm like, duh.
I know.
I know from what I speak of. We have a long way to go, and I feel like me coming out and saying Maddie's anxiety disorder, quite frankly, was my anxiety disorder in high school. Not exactly the same. This is fiction, Mom, Dad, everybody don't get mad at me. I've had that talk too.
Did they say, am I that character?
Yes! I'm like, no, clearly, sister, you are not the sister in here.
Loosely based on.
Yeah, I mean, the character that's probably, when my daughter, my 14-year-old read this, she's like, Mom, your main character sounds like you and me. And I'm like, I know, like slices of me. But yeah, I to go back to the whole thing about stigma, we have to bust it. We have to bust it. Anxiety and depression are super common. I don't have the stats memorized, but every other person you talk to has probably had a bout with it in some way, shape, or form. So why aren't we looking at it like we do other physical ailments and approaching it as such?
And talking about high profile deaths, Anthony Bourdain,
yes.
Kate Spade.
Yes.
And it happens, we talk with folks when it happens, but it's sort of those downtimes, perhaps.
Yes.
We all grieve the loss of folks that we know who have lost, but continuing to have the conversation, keep it out there, and encourage people to talk to someone, whether it's a family member, a professional, a friend, but to talk.
As soon it's funny, people will come in my office for a session and they'll be like, just saying this out loud is therapeutic, and research supports like just saying it to somebody is half the battle because of the stigma we have,
But
so,
here we have this book talking about a young woman's journey, loosely based on Hannah's life. But again, we'll put links to where you can buy it online if you watch after the fact, but we always love to feature local authors in here too. And hopefully when the second book, the fifth in the series,
the fifth
gets published, you'll come back here to Go Local Live and talk about the next book.
I will, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for this Friday noontime show as we kick your weekend off a little early. I think this is the best of the weekend that we're going to see here. So I'd like to welcome my next guest, Matthew Tavy, the Secretariat Treasurer for IBT, the Teamsters Local 251. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it because you've had not just a busy week, but a busy few months because there's a big battle nationally within the Teamsters, and it pertains to UPS, and you were traveling this week, and there's going to be more action taking place this weekend. So fill folks in on what's going on with the Teamsters.
So right now, particularly with UPS, like you said, UPS and UPS Freight, there has been national negotiations, and there are what's called tentative agreements between the company and the International Union, the package division. And specifically yesterday, there was a meeting, there were two meetings in Chicago where local officers were briefed on the two tentative agreements and took votes on whether to send it to the members for a vote. Both of those agreements were approved. It wasn't unanimous. It was not overwhelming. There were a lot of no votes, and I was one of them. Local 251, both of our representatives were no votes. All of New England were no votes, along with a number of other locals across the country.
So talk with us about the current leadership of the national IBT and James Hoffa in particular.
So my history is I've either supported or ran with folks that have opposed the James Hoffa leadership. It's once every 5 years is the international election, so in between sometimes there's political stuff, but for the most part the official election stuff is every 2 years out of 5 essentially through all the process. But the last time I ran on a slate against Mr. Hoffa's slate, and there are a lot of fractures, fissures, shall we say, since then. And I've been involved with a lot of the folks that have had criticism.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You've been, and the Local 251 has been vocal about this, the disconnect, if you will, from sort of the rank and file and the leadership. What is it that, do you not feel they represent the best interests of the average local member?
Well, the issue goes back, particularly with UPS, the issue goes back to the last contract. 18 supplemental agreements were rejected by the membership. The national agreement barely passed. There were a lot of issues, and there was no, wasn't a lot of hints or information beforehand, but once the union presented to the membership some significant healthcare concessions, a lot of members voted no, and there was a big push on there, and that fueled the 2016 election cycle. This time around, having that as a background, having a very close international election the last time where 6 challenging candidates took out incumbent officers on the international level because we have direct elections. We are in a situation where obviously, and it was very, like I said, very close all the way through, you have a situation where you need to adapt. You need to listen and adapt and say, there are folks that have some ideas that we should all work together, that we should figure this out.
Bring it a little closer over here. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is there a sense that leadership might be a little too cozy with UPS, or I mean, why do you think that some of the contracts that are put forth keep getting rejected by the members?
The UPS contract is 250,000 Teamsters.
Okay.
Or represents 250,000 members of the bargaining unit. It is by far the largest contract in North America. Yeah. It is the largest contract within the Teamsters. And particularly the full-time ranks the workers are paid very well, have very good benefits, and in many ways sets the standard for the labor movement as a whole. So,
As UPS goes, other contracts go.
right. I mean, our health care and our pension and our that's the top rate, generally speaking, pay rate in many areas of the country, if not overall. So when you're factoring that in, there's a lot that we use as an example of where the Teamsters overall are going, where maybe even the industry is going in trucking and transportation. So given that, there may be a sense that, and I've heard it from the company and I soundly reject it, is that it's, UPS is the golden goose and you don't want to upset them too much. But in all reality, they're the biggest violators of the agreement, relative to other companies. They're very aggressive. They have a business to run. We understand that, but we're always battling with them to abide by the contract. So we take that in our local very aggressively. We don't, we don't hold back at all. We've had a lot of battles locally, and we'll continue to do so because it's in the best interest of our members. If other locals, the international leadership doesn't have that mindset, well, we view it as this is what our members need, this is what our members want, this is what I was elected on and my team was elected on twice. UPS in Rhode Island are very happy and engaged, and any criticisms or constructive or otherwise we take and we adapt and we move on and we address the issue, address the root of the problem rather than some PR campaign.
So you were in Chicago, and now there's going to be action this weekend, a local vote, if you will. So talk with us a little bit about what next now after Chicago. So
now that both agreements are an official tentative agreement for the members to vote on, we're having informational meetings.
Okay.
So this weekend we have 3 meetings set up, one with UPS Freight members and 2 with UPS, in the package side, where we're going to talk about any of the issues, addressing any of the criticisms, concerns, and then give our opinions on that. I mean, we've been very active, at the gates, leafleting. We had a petition drive throughout all of New England to demand better, where a large percentage of the membership signed locally as well as throughout New England to say that we're prepared to vote no.
Okay.
If necessary.
So we've been following this UPS battle here, and you were out in Chicago with James Hoffa, and again coming from such his lineage. Could anyone take him out for leadership?
I think so, and my understanding is, and it's 3 years away, so it's a long ways away. There's whispers that he may not run again, but we'll see. That's 3 years away.
Well, of course, folks here, whether knowing Teamsters, obviously dealing with UPS, or just knowing of the Hoffa legacy with the Teamsters, knowing from social media what the local 251 here has been battling on the UPS front. I really wanted you to come in, give folks a little bit of the lay of the land, having just been from Chicago. You jet lagged at all?
I'm a little tired, but I got some rest. It was okay.
Anything else you think viewers should know about where things stand? I think you've given a pretty good overview to fill folks in, but was there anything we missed?
I mean, the main thing is it's been all of New England, which has some pretty high-profile disagreements, is a good way to put it, has been united and working together as one group. Which is really good. It's good for the overall labor movement. It's good for workers everywhere that we represent, because whether it's UPS or any other company, we can call on each other and help each other and help with organizing, help with picket lines, help with any of the things that we do to better the lives of workers. So I mean, at least in New England, I can vouch for the fact that we're all swimming in the same direction.
Okay.
And that's helpful.
Well, I appreciate, as I said, you're taking the time to come in here to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. Matt Tatey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back to wrap up here in just one moment. everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this Friday noontime as the weekend is getting underway here shortly, and it looks like we're seeing the best of it. Well, I'd like to thank the guests who came on today. Former State Representative Ray Rickman to give his big view. Hannah Goodman, local author, former high school teacher, licensed mental health counselor with her published book, Till It Stops Beating, talking about fiction and mental health. And of course, Matt Taby with the local 251 Teamsters, their battle with the leadership at the national level, including James Hoffa, over the UPS contract. So we'll be catching up with you throughout the weekend on GoLocalProv.com. Of course, be sure to tune in on Facebook as well. Monday, we'll be taking a pause. State holiday, we'll be back here fully on Tuesday, so we look forward to seeing you then here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.